As you guys know, just like all of you, I've been a wrestling fan for most of my life. For as long as I can remember, I've been in this abusive relationship with wrestling, and over the years there's been highs, there's been lows, there's been depression, but as I've grown up in life, wrestling for the most part has always been there with me in some sort of way. But that doesn't mean that there also haven't been times where I've felt really disconnected from wrestling. Right now is one of those times because I am in the middle of a pretty solid wrestling hangover where their current product, well, it's not bad, not at all. It is just not moving me whatsoever. Ever since I went to SummerSlam, I've just been so disconnected from wrestling. The storylines are whatever to me. The weekly shows are not something I want to take my time out to watch. When I do watch the pay-per-views, everything just feels so useless. I'm having a good old-fashioned wrestling hangover. And with all this going on, it recently got me thinking about my past and, the other times in my lifelong fandom where I've had a wrestling hangover, and also the times where it's been a little more severe than just a wrestling hangover. The first time I can remember where wrestling stopped hitting like that for me was way back around my 11th birthday back in 2009. That was the first time I can remember where I really distanced myself from wrestling. And I know exactly when it was. It was when Jeff Hardy left the company. When I look at all my years of fandom, I was such a diehard fan from 2004 till 2009. That was and forever will be my wrestling fan peak. I was such a diehard fan that it used to piss my mom off. Like, she would pray that one day, maybe one day, her one and only son would grow up and stop watching fake fighting. And through those 5 years, no matter what, right? No matter how many times Edge ruined my life or Big Dick Johnson appeared on screen, I stayed tuned in. When a lot of the older fans left in 07 after the Benoit Massacre, I was too young to know what the hell truly went down, and I was just tuned into Raw and SmackDown like, yeah, I don't know, nothing happened, it's all good, let's get on with the show. But when Jeff Hardy lost that cage match to CM Punk in 2009, I was genuinely depressed. I was so sad that I would go onto WWE's Facebook page at the time and post on their wall and beg for Jeff Hardy to come back. That's how much it meant to me. Jeff Hardy leaving hurt me on another level because at that point, he was my #1 guy. He was the guy. Honestly, he was the guy for all of us. I remember a few days after he left, the school year actually started, and it wasn't just me. All the homies at school were depressed, and that's when I remember for the first time where I was like, yeah, I don't feel like watching SmackDown this week. I don't care about Raw tonight. Yeah, Randy and Cena are feuding, wow, okay, but Jeff Hardy is gone, mom. And that was a shock and a pretty wild feeling, because imagine watching something every week for 5 years straight, being obsessed with it, living it, breathing it to almost a weird level. Like, I was obsessed, and then suddenly you don't feel like tuning in anymore. Suddenly you don't care who's champion anymore. Suddenly it doesn't matter anymore. It was weird. That's how much power Jeff Hardy had. And so for the next few months after August 2009, I was a very distant fan. I didn't order any pay-per-views. I probably watched like 3 or 4 episodes of TV till the end of the year. I remember seeing on YouTube that Batista turned on Ray, and that shit broke my heart and made me not want to watch even more. And even my friends at school just slowly stopped talking about wrestling. Everything was now about real sports, right? Everything was about Kobe and the Lakers and LeBron's dad on the Cavs. All of my older friends and cousins were now about UFC. And I remember after going like a solid 3 months of not watching, I finally did tune into an episode of Raw, and what I saw tripped me out so hard that I thought I was in an alternate universe. It was definitely December 09, and I remember tuning in. I'm like, it's Monday, I'm gonna watch Raw. I was pretty excited. I was like, let's see what Randy Orton's been up to, what's John Cena saying these days, and I remember turning it on, and all I see is this tall ass pale ginger as WWE champion, and I'm just like, what the is this? This was the definition of a polar bear in Texas. I thought I'd tune into a parody, because no joke, prior to watching Raw that night on a random Monday in December of 09, I had never seen this man before in my life, and now he was WWE champion, this guy. And I was just like, yeah, I don't feel like watching anymore. It was just a weird time. And what's funny is, during this time, I was so disconnected from the actual product, but you bet your ass, I was all over SVR 2010. Just a weird time. I went almost 6 months of not watching WWE, and it wasn't until February of 2010 when I really got back into it. That's when Edge came back, and I was like, wait, I can cheer this man? HBK was trying to go one-on-one with The Undertaker at Mania again. As the road to WrestleMania picked up, so did my interest, and I stayed on watching for a good bit. The Nexus angle began, and your boy was a huge Nexus mark. In the summer of 2010, a lot of my friends who also stopped watching in late 09 came back and started watching again, so we all really got into it, and trust me, we became huge Nexus fans. We were obsessed with Nexus. We basically thought we were Nexus. Yo, we were such goofs as kids. In the summer of 2010, we named our house league soccer team Team Nexus. What does that even mean? I don't know, but we named ourselves Nexus, and we were such marks that we used to play the Nexus theme song during our warm-ups, and we were like singing along, we are one, just to lose like 6-2 20 minutes later. But good times. But But yeah, looking back at it, that was the first time I remember where I found myself away from wrestling. From September of 2009 until February 2010, one man, one face-painted weird-ass man leaving did severe damage to my fandom and made me not want to watch the entire product for half a year. But as the years went on, despite how stupid the product was at times, I was pretty much hooked. Anonymous Raw GM and all, you know, them butchering the Summer of Punk, didn't matter, I was there for it all. And what kept me watching, what kept me in, was of course knowing that eventually Cena and Rock were gonna go at it at WrestleMania 28 and 2012. That one match held me captive to the product, so when, you know, some stupid stuff happened, like when Sheamus won the Rumble in 2012, who, as you can tell, I've never been a Sheamus fan, it was fine because, hey, Cena and Rock is happening soon. Despite how the product objectively was pretty bad at the time, it was a fun time. You know, 2011 and early 2012, it was just a fun time to be a fan. This was also the end of an era, right? This was the last time period for me where I found myself watching every week, but so were my friends, and so were all the other kids around my age at school. For my age group, this was the last year and the last era where everyone was still a wrestling fan, and WrestleMania 28, when Cena and Rock went face to face and had their match, and that 1 month after where they had Lesnar versus Cena went at it, that was one of the most fun months of being a wrestling fan I ever had. Everyone was talking about wrestling every single day. It was all about The Rock. Oh my god, what a crazy match that was. I wonder who The Rock's gonna verse next. Oh my god, Lesnar's back. Is Lesnar really gonna beat up Cena for real? Are they gonna have a real fight? Is it gonna be this? Is it gonna be that? That 1 month, April of 2012, was legit the last hurrah, and what a time it was to live through that. But as soon as Cena and Lesnar was over and it was back to the regularly scheduled programming and the summer was about to hit, that was the time period where everyone around me kind of stopped watching wrestling. And as the weeks went on, that's when I noticed that, hey, I might be the only one still watching this shit. And naturally, when that happened, when I noticed that, I kind of drifted away and started watching less than usual as well. I think that everyone who's ever been a lifelong wrestling fan has had that phase. I think it was just a part of growing up where everyone around you stopped watching, you still want to watch and you still do care, but you kind of feel pressure to not watch anymore, or you start telling yourself, yeah, there's better things to do because everyone else you know grew out of it, and you kind of feel like, hey, maybe it's time that I grow out of it. That was me in 2012. Suddenly I started watching movies more, going out more, watching more TV shows. I was thinking about girls more, and I just kind of became a casual fan. Yeah, I'll still stream the pay-per-views, and if a hot angle happened, you know, I'd be tuned in. I wouldn't watch the entire episode of Raw, but maybe I'll tune in for the main event angle or something. But as time went on in 2012, life went on. I started high school. I was trying to fit in. Black Ops 2 came out. I'm trying to play that. I'm not trying to watch Raw anymore. I became a really casual fan in every way, and honestly, a large part of it was I felt like I had to grow out of it. I'm like, oh, I'm getting older, you know, no one else watches this, it's time for me to stop watching. But then surprisingly, I must say though, beginning around the Royal Rumble 2013, I was back at it like a crack addict. Yeah, by 2013, I got over my, oh, nobody else watches anymore phase really quick, and I just accepted, hey, I love this silly shit, I love wrestling, and I dove back into it super hard. I started watching every Raw, every pay-per-view, and I was there for it for a solid 2 years. I rode that wave for as long as I could. 2013 to 2015, listen, the product was pretty bad at times, but it was like, it had a charm to it. For those 2 years, I was all the way in, and I always look back at that time period with such warm and fuzzy feelings because that easily could have been the era where I stopped watching even more after my 2012 spell, but instead, I was just pulled back in and I was obsessed with it once again, and it really reignited my love for wrestling and kind of led me to making this channel. So I look back at that time period with great memories. But then in late 2015 though, this is where I probably had my biggest departure from watching wrestling because it all came crashing down and it definitely hurt inside in the fall of 2015. Notice how it's always the fall? Late 2015 was such a dark time to be a wrestling fan. After having such a blast watching all of 2015, from WrestleMania to the summer, I love SummerSlam, I was all in, I was having such a good time, but around October, it got so damn boring, it didn't make any sense. Around October, the company just fell apart and everyone started getting injured and the product just became so damn cold. It was like someone put a hex on the company. Rollins got injured and he was no longer champion. Cena was out here losing the US title to Alberto Del Rio and then he got injured. Randy Orton was injured. Sting came back and then he basically died. And to top it all off, the entire product became the Roman Reigns show. And for me personally, this was just not a good time. I was so bored. I hated the product so much. Survivor Series was ending with Sheamus looking like this, cashing in on Roman. Next thing you know, Monday Night Raw is 3 hours of trying to get Roman Reigns over as a face. The roster was so weak, so depleted, and they tried having Vince get involved to get Roman over, and I was like, what are you guys doing here? There was no big time matches anymore, plans were getting scrapped every week, and every time I tuned into the product, I just felt stupid for watching, so I literally stopped watching. From October 2015 till June of 2016, I watched the least amount of wrestling I ever had. I didn't watch the Rumble, so yeah, your boy missed out on the AJ Styles debut. I attended a show during this time, funny enough, but even attending a show didn't make me want to watch the weekly product anymore. I forced myself to watch WrestleMania because it's WrestleMania, but I didn't watch the night after. I didn't watch Raw. I didn't watch Extreme Rules. Yeah, I would hear, oh, AJ Styles and Roman had a great match, Extreme Rules. Yeah, I don't care. I'm not watching. I just hated what their product had become. I was getting older, I was a senior in high school, and the company, everything just felt so weak. Everything just felt so boring and bland. And I'm sure people enjoy this time period, which is respect, I'm glad, but for me, I didn't. I hated it. And the only thing that brought me back was the 2016 draft and them resetting where I'm like, okay, let me give this a chance. And luckily, as we all know, SmackDown ended up being pretty awesome for a little bit after the draft. But to be honest, like there was so much damage done during this era that I never went back to being the same type of fan I was before this, right? The 2015 absence, like, it really took me out of the product so much more that I was never ever obsessed with it as I was from 2013 to 2014 to 2015, because after 2016, yeah, I'd enjoy the product, there would be some good shows, I'd watch the pay-per-views and everything, but I lost a lot of the love. I don't know what it was, but I'll say this, luckily though, SmackDown was pretty solid, and I did watch a decent amount from late 2016 up until WrestleMania 34. I was watching pretty regularly, but it still just wasn't with the same amount of love I had before. But yo, once 2018 came, once WrestleMania 34 was over, shit, I wish it was still 2016, 2017, because 2018 and 2019, just like for many of you guys, I almost stopped watching wrestling for good. In my lifetime, there has never been a time period where wrestling was worse and more hard to watch than the WWE in 2018 to 2019. Yeah, there were some good moments, Kofi Mania, this, I get it, but there's always good moments in wrestling, but overall, those 2 years were horrible. From 2018 to 2019, I'm gonna be honest, I barely watched any wrestling. Yeah, I would tune in if there's a hot angle, I'd watch some SmackDown, you know, lead them to WrestleMania, maybe I'd watch them, but overall, I hated it. Everything I saw, I hated. There was barely any redeeming factors, and it was such a bad time to be a fan. Honestly, COVID happening is probably one of the best things to ever happen to the WWE, as crazy as that sounds. We had dog food, we had Becky and Seth, you know, we had a Goldberg title run. It was just a disgusting, and everyone knows, it's just a horrible time to be a fan. To show you how disconnected I was from the product, I bought tickets for WrestleMania 36, and it wasn't because, oh yeah, I'm excited for some matches, or I'm excited for the product, I love the product, I want to go to WrestleMania. It was more so like, hey, I've never been to WrestleMania, the product seems to keep getting worse and worse and worse. I don't know how this is gonna be a year from now, it might be even 10 times worse. Let me just go to WrestleMania, get this off my bucket list, see John Cena live, so then at least I can move on with my life just in case this shit gets even worse. That's how down bad I was. Honestly, that's how down bad we all were. I really thought that the SmackDown debut on Fox was gonna be like the start of this new era. Like, wow, this is actually gonna matter. SmackDown's gonna be special again. I'm so excited. And then it ended like this, and I was just like, all right, great. Just horrible times, man. But yeah, now here we are in the modern day, and even though I'm going through this little hangover, I know it's going to be temporary. I know when the road to WrestleMania picks up, it's going to be fire, it's going to be amazing, I'm going to be all excited, I'm going to go to Mania, have a great time, no doubt. The product is, at the end of the day, in a really good place. It's just me personally having a little hangover. More often than not, I'm sure most people are enjoying it right now, no problem. So yeah, I'll be over my wrestling hangover soon, who knows, maybe by Survivor Series I might be amped again, we'll see. Either way though, really fun to look back at. In the comments down below though, let me know, what are some times that you stopped watching wrestling? You know, when did you have that phase where you're like, yeah, I don't really want to watch this anymore? What drove you away? What brought you back in? Let me know down below. Or if there's anyone out there that never stopped watching, that's been watching consistently and never had a hangover, never had a phase, I'm curious too. Let me know down below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I know it's kind of different from my usual content, but hey, hopefully you guys enjoyed it. A little more personal, but don't worry, I'll be back with a more traditional video soon in no time, okay? Hope you guys enjoyed. It's your boy Pav, aka Wrestling Gifts. Make sure you comment down below. I'll see you guys soon though, okay? Later, guys.